is Chief Ede Dafinone. I'm the second son of Senator-Ede Dafinone, High Chief of Okpe Kingdom in Delta State. I'm an accountant by training, as you must know. My hobbies and other activities include politics over the last few years significantly, property development, rubber exporting for tire companies, rubber plantation, a little bit of insurance and insurance brokerage, and also community development projects through the Dafinone Foundation. I'm elated to be a member of a distinguished family, renowned for having the largest number of chartered accountants qualified in England and Wales, with myself, my 4 siblings, my father, Senator-Ede Dafinone, all being members of the English Institute of Chartered Accountants. We're in the Guinness Book of Records for that, having the largest number of members of the English Institute. We saw what the Senator had achieved in the profession, and we felt that that was a direction we could all follow. It's a feat, yes, but the honor and glory goes to God. The Dafinone Foundation has been established for quite a number of years. The principal function of the foundation was to provide scholarships to Deltans, postgraduate scholarships to Deltans. But when I contested in 2007 for the post of the Senate in PDP, I lost out at the primaries, and those supporting me, we had developed a rapport over the months, and they came back to me and said, you know, I had promised development, and I acknowledged that even without being in the Senate, there would still be other ways to provide development. And it was through those discussions that we started a microcredit scheme in Saple local government. The scheme started off lending between 20,000 and 100,000 naira to women to fund existing businesses in order that those businesses would expand and allow them to better their lives further. The women were interviewed, their premises were visited. It was established that the women would use the money judiciously for their businesses.
Well, I think this foundation is one of the best that I've ever heard of. The foundation is very good, and when we talk about empowerment, they are actually empowering us.
The foundation is a good thing. It's a good thing that Dafinone has set up. I will encourage him, and even if it is possible for others to emulate it, it is a very good thing. After the training, he's empowering us also. What else do we need? The sky is our limit.
So, having interviewed the women, we also put them in a chain, organized on a ward-by-ward basis. There may have been between 10 and 30 members of our group within a ward who would benefit from the microcredit scheme. Now, with the women in a line, if we went round and did 2 women this month, the next month, the next 2 women in the line, or 1 or 3, would then have their turn. But if the woman in front or the women in front have not been paying off their loans, then those behind would not get anything. So there was then a pressure on those that had received to make sure that they performed so as to allow those behind to also benefit. The scheme was very successful. We had 100% repayment from the women. Where we started to see we were falling short was where we had a lot of women coming to us to say they would like some help, but they didn't have any existing business and they didn't have any existing skills. From that process, we expanded what we had started earlier, which was an adult literacy class for those ladies who couldn't read and write, to a skills acquisition program where we introduced hairdressing, catering and tailoring classes for Saple local government. The program would run over a year with the students attending classes on a daily basis. Largely they were school leavers between the ages of 16, 17 to 22, 23. They would attend classes for a year, and at the end of the year they would graduate, those that passed, because there were some that were not diligent that failed. And we would then give them a certificate to show they've completed a year's course, and also give them tools, implements in order to start off their businesses independently. So for example, for the hairdressers, we'd give them hairdryers. The caterers, we would give them cookers. For the tailors, we would give them sewing machines. The thinking behind that was they now had the skills, they now had the tools, and they would then, in a little corner of their homes or friends' homes, start up a little business, doing their friends' hair, doing their neighbors' hair, and through that, earning an income to feed themselves and their families, and hopefully then expanding to have premises, staff, etc. from that small unit.
3 by 3. The 6 has to do what you follow to. Then you just add one on top of one, 3 by 3. That's for the taller men. But for the average men, their height, you use 2 by...
We've graduated 3 classes so far. The 4th class is ready for graduation from that school in Saple local government. It's been successful. The graduation ceremony in Saple local government last year, we had a woman come out to give testimony at the graduation ceremony. She came out to explain to the crowd that she was a widow. Her husband had died a couple of years back, and she didn't have funds to look after her children and send them to school. She had, in desperation, joined our program as a caterer. And she told all of us that her neighbors had laughed at her, that she was a bit old to be going to school. She got to the school, and the other students also laughed at her, that she was a bit old to be going to school. Nevertheless, she completed the 1-year program. She was out in the middle of the hall, and she twirled with her handbag in her outfit, said, "Look at me now." She was showing the crowd that from her shoes to her bag to her dress, her hairstyle, she was prosperous. She went on to tell us how she had more orders for her catering on a daily basis than she could cope with, and that she was doing really well. The whole purpose is to change lives, to impact lives, to empower people so as they can feed themselves, feed their families, send their children to school, for a better community, for a better society, for a better country. We took the program about a year and a half ago to a second local government, Ede West local government in Delta State. There, because of the difference in terrain, Ede West is largely a rural environment compared to Sapele, which is an largely urban environment. We could not then set up a school because of the transport burden on the students coming from villages to a central point. So we adopted a different technique for Ede West and went the route of an apprentice program where we would sponsor young men and women as apprentices and this was decided by demand and supply, hairdressing, tailoring, iron bending, and aluminium welding as well. The program in Sapele, I should say, was 100% women's program. But in Ede West, we introduced the iron bending and aluminium welding to bring in the men into the program.
197 students when you want to train for computer and at the 58 Dafinone the day. Ede Dafinone to Udi to train aluminium and this gentleman to train welders and is an experienced director in this business. Then I check to train young men for welding because we divided into 3 groups, A, B, C.
I tell people that it may not sound like much, but you have sponsored somebody as an apprentice with 8,000 or 12,000 naira for a year or 2-year program. But you have to have a proper perspective of the level of poverty we have in the rural areas, where a sponsorship of 8,000 or 10,000 is something a young man sitting at home cannot afford to put together. Those people now have training, they now have a skill, they now have hope. And just by getting up in the morning and going to resume at work on a daily basis offers that young man a different perspective on life. He becomes useful to his community. He feels useful to his family. He knows that he will be able to grow, prosper, because he's working hard. He's learning a trade that will earn him an income in the future. It's not much, but I believe that we have helped nearly 2,000 people to date through these programs, and the hope is that we can still continue to grow our own program as well as encourage other Deltans, other Nigerians to develop similar programs where they are helping their community, helping their immediate environment to develop. The first graduation held 2 months ago for that program, where the hairdressers and the tailors from Ede West graduated. The aluminium benders and the welders, it's a 2-year apprenticeship. A man who is involved in politics or describes himself as a politician should be involved in it for service to his people. And to say that as a politician I can only serve my people if I am elected, when I am elected, when I'm given a government office, then you are not really in politics to provide service to your people. Senator-Ede Dafinone, my father, had a distinguished career at the Senate between 1979 and 1983. He served as chairman of several committees and member of, I think, one or two through that period. And he set up projects in DSC is one good example. The Sapele step down, which was just completed, is based on the Sapele power plant, which he brought to Sapele in those days. I'm talking now of local projects. There were also other projects within the country that he spearheaded and drove for a better country, a more development, a better Nigeria.
Is Senator-Ede Dafinone, one of Open Kingdom Foundation. I am only the coordinator for Senator.
Initially, when we started, a lot of people saw it as a purely political program. Even where you would have a little article in the newspaper to say the foundation did A or B, I still met people who would come up to me and say, yes, you know, it's just a smoke screen. Politics is around the corner. You're just warming up for politics. But as the years have passed and people see, you know, okay, it's the fourth graduation. And yes, we heard of it a few years ago. We didn't know it's still good. So people are beginning to see that it's not a political program. It's not a program that comes up when the elections are nearby. The general feedback is, with every graduation especially, the feedback with young people now joining the different groups to say, it's real. My neighbor collected a sewing machine and is now earning an income. I'm going to send my daughter, my son. It's tremendous. As the project grows, there will be a greater demand for funding. So there is possibly a need to look for funds externally. And the structure is not there today to receive these funds because we are running the scheme on a very low budget operation. So if you get to the offices of the foundation, we have dedicated workers, teachers, secretaries, but all on very low salaries, all contributing to the charity themselves as individuals, with the majority of the funds going to help the students, the ladies, the young men and women who deserve, need this funding the most. I mentioned earlier that the graduation for the Sapele local government for 2011 was held in July 2012. Now, where I've been receiving funds from different sponsors around the world, they would have pressurized me earlier to say, this graduation is being postponed a little bit, and they would have a basis for asking questions because they have contributed money to the scheme. We plan to start the program in other Delta state local governments, in Ughelli North and Ughelli South, in Ope local government as well. Those are the three that we have on fast track for 2013.
Great students for Dafinone! Great students for Dafinone! Great students for Dafinone!
We recognize that we cannot help everybody. The idea is to firstly make a difference to a few And I say a few, but we must have influenced and impacted on the lives of about 2,000 since we started. But in order to help more people, we are doing things like this to make more people aware. This publicity wasn't done when we started initially. I'm running it on a personal basis. We need, therefore, to amend the structure to have it independent of myself, so as it continues to run regardless of my own personal challenges and situation. So we will amend the structure in the next few years. We will look for external funding through grants from international organizations, possible. And we will also increase the publicity so as to challenge other Deltans, other Nigerians to carry out similar programs in their own environment. Our scheme is a bit larger, and the idea is to cause other people to help one more person, 2 more people, 5 more people, 10 more people, in order to just help ourselves to bring our country to a new level. Make a direct contribution back to your society. Our country needs as much help as possible. And if we don't do it, nobody's going to do it for us. We have started the foundation. It's only at the beginning. It will still continue to grow within the local governments where we have presence, within new local governments, and it will still metamorphose into something different in every local government in order to expand.
Great student for Dafinone!